Good morning, everyone. Sorry I'm a little bit late. It was a bit of a queue grabbing coffees this morning. Belgium's right on the money there. It was just a bit of a queue to get that, but all good. Hope everyone had a lovely weekend for Easter. If you celebrate it, catching up with your families and whatnot. How you doing, Simon?
I'm all right, fella. Like I was just giving the introduction, it's been an interesting 24 hours. Especially with the run up with BTC overnight to 71.2. It seems like it's been quite a hard rejection. I mean, obviously most of the markets are shut today. It started with kind of like the opening over what was traditionally kind of Euro time zone with Deutsche Bank and LSE. Kind of followed on most of the day with East Coast opening, and then was shorted, to where we kind of are at the moment. What are your thoughts on BTC at the moment?
It was a
And
bit,
where
bit of a lackluster weekend, I thought. I was expecting there to be a lot more volatility going into the weekly, monthly, quarterly close that were all falling on the same day. And given that it was going to be a long weekend and Easter and whatnot, would have been low liquidity on the books. But it was a nothing burger, really. Nothing happened. I found that to be interesting. You guys may have seen that I put up a poll last week, I think it was, whether we're going to see Bitcoin close above 72.5, in between 69 and 72.5, or under 69k. And it's fallen in flat, so three of us were right on that. I was open-minded with it. I didn't think it was going to get above 72.5, but I was definitely open to the other two situations. It's interesting with us having the halving this month, and there's clearly, and there's always going to be a lot of hype around that and what that may look like. Quite clearly and obviously, long term, we're in a bull market, so I think things are going to go up. But for the short term, I've got a feeling that this may be just another sell the news event in the extreme short term, similar to the ETFs. When the ETFs were approved, that was a sell the news event as well. We saw two weeks of downturn post the approval before we then took off again. And I wouldn't be surprised if we were to sort of experience something a little bit similar here. Although it does start to look like that perhaps we may be starting to see the sell-off a bit earlier than what we did with the ETFs. With the ETFs, it ran up right up until the approval, and then it started to take a dip. Whereas we've opened up the month pretty much in the red. I think last I checked, we're at about 68.5k. So that's what I'm sort of leaning towards in the immediate short term, or at least for the month of April, before we start to potentially pick up again. Where do you sort of sit with the halving? So what's your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, I was quite surprised, kind of, over the weekend with kind of how small the ranges was, because I was either going to go see over 72.5, or I was kind of thinking 65, as low as that. It seems like every time there's like a major dip, like we saw a couple of weeks ago, when BTC crashed by about 9,000, there is such strong report. It is just hovering around this kind of 70k mark at the moment. And I'm not seeing, even though we might see kind of, dips below that, we're always seeing support back up to that level. Now, it does seem to be kind of this market marker range between about 71 and 68. And personally, I can see this chopping along, for another kind of, week or so. And I can either see it going through the roof or just crashing. Now, this is my own personal thought on this, because, the extreme lows we've seen, as I said, when BTC has crashed by like 8,000, 9,000, it is almost returned within 24, 36 hours. In the last cycle, we never saw that. You know, we're seeing extreme amount of liquidity here, and I'm wondering whether this has been an agreed figure or whether this is just where the market feels comfortable. Now, I don't know what your thoughts are on this. Do you think we're going to see kind of this sideways chop, and then the closer we get, either we're going to have kind of an extreme event, or it's just going to be kind of within this 5,000 range, maybe a little bit higher, maybe a little bit lower. And then as soon as a halving comes, like you say, it's either going to be a sell the news event, or it's just going to be, takeoff to possibly, 85, 90. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so for me, I sort of see 72.5K as the critical level. We've only sort of briefly spent a bit of time above it when we made our all-time high at 74K, before we then entered into a big sell-off. And since then, we spent a bit of time under 69K over here. And then since we've come back up, we never actually even tested 72.5K. We wicked above the local 76 at 71,100, but we never held above that either. So there is a lot of sell pressure coming in this 71.1 to 72K zone. And once it does pop above, it seems like that 69K, the old all-time high, is acting as support. But now we've just had a break. We've had a break below it. It's coming back up to test it. If it does reject, I think we can start to see maybe a bit of a run down here. So what I've got drawn here, I've got a parallel channel that I've drawn up. So basically it is the all-time high to the highs over here. That's the top line, and then it's pulled down to the low over here. And at the moment, it's pretty much respecting it. We did pop out slightly over the weekend. This would have been Sunday for you guys, but it was only momentarily before it started to sell off and fall below the 69K level. So there is a couple of different situations. We could just have a consolidation by going sideways for an extended period of time, which is at the moment, that's more or less what we are experiencing. So that the range would currently be around 60K up to 70K or 71K, which is it's a decent range. It's about 15%. Or we could start to see, as we're starting to near the end of this sideways consolidation period, the volatility may start to pick up. And we could potentially see some volatility to the downside into this zone that I've spoken about previously. Or it may just take off. So there is definitely two things at play. You can have volatility, you can have consolidation by just going sideways, getting boring, and then when everyone's sort of asleep at the computer, we take off, or maybe we're going to drop down lower and start filling in this zone down here. So some things to keep in mind is that we still do have approximately 12 to 18 months left of this bull market. Still a long time to go. So even if we do come down in this zone below 60K, that's fine. It's actually good. It's healthy to have these retraces. We don't want to be dropping below 52K, that's for sure. But we can drop down here, do a little bit of sideways, and then start taking off. And to the upside, if we were to have a breakout, I'll jump into another chart for a sec. If we were to have a breakout, I'm looking at around 77, 78K as the first area of resistance. And then we've got this little golden pocket up here, golden pocket extension at around 81.7 to 82K. That would be the first couple of areas. At the moment, how it looks, we've got this low that came in at 60K. It's currently the higher low, but it's unconfirmed. So for that to be a confirmed higher low, we need to break this top at 74k. We'll call it 74k. Until that gets broken, we can dip below this level here. So it's just going to be a bit of a bit of a wait and see game. We are seeing the dominance starting to grind up again. It is starting to look like it's breaking out. If we go onto like a daily chart, we can see we're starting to get above the old tops. The closing bars, we're now above them, so we can start to see this potentially start taking off. This isn't going to keep going up forever. BT's the dominance here. It is going to have a turn at some point. So for me at the moment, I'm watching Bitcoin to try and snipe entries into alts that I still haven't bagged or adding to current bags. And at some point, this is going to flip, and when it flips, it's going to be quick. We can have a look at what has happened historically back over here. So it goes down quite a bit, goes up, but then when the Bitcoin dominance capitulated from 75%, it was just straight down, and it went from 74% all the way down to 39%, 39.5%. And it went pretty quickly. That's alt season right there. And that's what you don't want to be buying as this is going down. You want to be getting in back here, loading up those bags and getting ready for when this happens. Because it will happen at some point. There is still upside to go. I have had this rectangle box here at around 57% for a while. That's my target zone for the Bitcoin dominance. I'm still do think that we'll get there. We don't have to get there, but I still do think we'll get there. Maybe in the next sort of 1 to 2 months. I don't think we're going to go too much higher. It can, but I think that this is a nice level here for the dominance to get to before it starts to do a bit of consolidation and then maybe fall away. But we will maybe check out some other alts. I will just see if there's any comments.
I think it's just
Okay.
the kind of some of the normal ones, to be honest with you, Borgs.
Yeah, I was just reading a question here from Starseed. For those of us interested in buying Bitcoin and Ethereum soon, is it way too late? That's a good question. I think if you're just entering into the market for the first time, it's not. It really depends on what your time frame is for holding. Buying now, it's not so bad. Look, you're not going to get the best entry, that's for sure. Bitcoin did get down to 15.5k, and Ethereum, I think it was about $900 for the lows. So you're definitely not buying in anywhere near the lows. But I think you do need to be prepared to sell within a short period of time. And there may be some tax implications for you depending on your location with that as well. I know here in Australia, you need to hold for 12 months plus in order to get a 50% discount on your capital gains. So that may be applicable to you as well. So that's something definitely to be mindful of. I think most of us can probably agree that Bitcoin and ETH are going to be going up within the next 12 months. So if you're looking to make a few bucks, I think that answers the question. ORBK. Well, I've never heard of ORBK, but we can have a look at ORBK. It's been new, only a couple of weeks out. Well, there really isn't enough data here to do some proper TA on it. The only thing looking at this is that it looks like it is starting to trend up now. We've got the lower low, and then it's come down and put in a higher low. We know that's a higher low because we've come up and closed above these highs over here, forming a higher high. But this is all only on a 4-hour time frame, which is quite low time frame for confirming that this is actually the case. This I don't know anything about the tokenomics of this token, so it could be at a 100 mil market cap here, it could be at $1 billion market cap here, which would definitely play a role in where this can go. But it does look like it's a fairly new token. When you do get these new tokens come in, it is typical to see them. Maybe like that the launching price may have been down here. It's run up because this is just the MEXC chart. It's run up and then sold off, which is fairly common to see when you have a launch token. The IDO price might be down at 1 cent or something to that effect. When it launches, it pumps right up in the first sort of hour, and then you see the sell off before it starts to come back around again. But we'll jump into sweat. Everyone loves a bit of sweat. So I actually haven't been in a sweat chart for a little while, but we did get a nice pump over the weekend. And sorry, my chart is quite messy here, but we've got the golden pocket up here in the 786. That fib is drawn from the previous high at 0.18 cents down to the low down at 1 cent. Gives us a 786, and this pump stopped dead on that 786 level. It's interesting, and the reason why it is interesting is when it did retrace, let's see if I can zoom into it, retraced to the 786. So the retrace went to the 786, the pump has gone up to the 786. So if we're playing with the 786s, and I've got a fib drawn here from the 1 cent low to this recent pump high, and that would bring us back down to this 786 here at 122, around there. But all things being equal, I think sweat is going nicely. I mean, that's almost a 50% pump from this low. It's more than a 50% pump from this low. It's a 70% pump from this low here up, and now it's coming back. So there's some volatility coming into sweat, which is good to see. It's not just stagnating like what we saw back here, when we just saw the consolidation within the range. So we're seeing a bit of volume come in now. This parallel channel's starting to cop a fair bit of a beating with it leaving the channel and coming back in. There was a lot of sell volume that come in. We can see down here the red bars, and this is on a 4-hour chart. So there was quite a bit of volume that came in and to reject it. So it'd be nice to start to see this starting to taper out and maybe coming back up. But for sweat, I think it's in a good place. We just don't want to see it starting to break back down below the prior lows. So this will now become a key level here at 1 cent or just above 1 cent, 0.11, something like that. We don't want to see that get broken now. Ultimately, we shouldn't be breaking back into this range, which is the solid red lines. We shouldn't be getting back into this range anymore. So we'll see where Sweat takes us. Might jump in and have a look at Near. I know that we've got a few followers that enjoy a bit of Near. All right. All right, so this is back when we made the high in the middle of March, $9. Then we had the sell off down to 6, and it's come back up to hit the golden pocket, and now we're rejecting. Ultimately, for Near, I think we can get down to $5, down to this golden pocket down here, and I'll actually bag up some more Near down at this level if it does get down there. There isn't a lot of green bars, and where there is green bars, the red bars are sort of a bigger bigger than the green bars. I'm talking about the volume bars down the bottom. So I think it's going to be coming back down to this $5 area, hopefully anyway, because I do want to get some more Near. I don't have anywhere near as much as what I wanted to. I was too focused on other coins earlier on in the piece. But
at least you're honest, Borgie. Do you know what I mean?
you got to be honest. If you're lying or whatever, who are you joking? You
No,
know.
I think there's quite a big near following. We all like near. And as I said, a few of us wish we all had a bit more. But it's interesting you're speaking about the five kind of dollar mark. I mean, we've seen near kind of have a massive transformation in the last 6 months. Do you think, obviously with the two news events which happened about 6 weeks ago now, do you think that was more kind of a sell the news event, which actually had a kind of a detrimental effect on the market, which is now reducing kind of the near price with the sell off? What are your thoughts on that?
I think, and I'm probably going to be answering your question in a roundabout way. I'm yet to see a solid news event that has resulted in sustained constant growth of a token in the last 12 months. So quite often we've seen this sort of action, and this is exactly what happened with Near. Pumped up in the weeks leading up to the the Nvidia conference or whatever it was. I actually don't even follow the news events, as you guys know. Pumped up leading up to it, and then as we got really close to the date, it's now it's sold off. So it's good that it did grow, and it was getting to $9. It's nothing to be sneezed at. That's a 9x from its lows. And it's retraced, but it hasn't retraced back to these levels. So it is holding onto some of that growth, which is fantastic. But I feel that a lot of people, when they're looking for news or are talking about something that's coming up, for instance, the halving or the spot ETF, they think that they look at it through the lens of, okay, as soon as this news event happens, it's going to take off to the moon. It's going to have all this growth and continue. But it doesn't. It doesn't happen that way, because there's a lot of people that have a similar mindset. But the people with the money that are in the know, they've been buying up back here at $3. They've been buying this up, and then the hype or the people looking forward to this event happening is what creates these gains. And then they get to the news event, and then they're like, right, I'm ready for it to pump. But then they realize that, hang on, I'm the person that's been me and everyone else that's been waiting for this hype are the people that have been pumping it up here, and then the news event happens and they stop buying because they think, all right, we're ready to go now. But the big whales that were loading up back here in anticipation of this run up are now ready to unload their bags. And that's what you start to see. You start to see those big whales are unloading their bags, bringing the price down. And then those select few people, or not select few, the large volume of people that were getting really excited about the news event and the hype that we're buying through here, they're like, what the hell? Why isn't the price going up? Oh, this is a dead fish in the water. So let's start selling. And these whales that we're buying back here, they're going to be buying, they're going to be rebuying their bags up back in this level to then get that continuation after the fact. But it's got nothing to do with the news event that happened. The news event is used to get that run up so the whales can unload the bag. And then when all the, I suppose, the fear and the greed has come out of when all the greed has come out of the run up, and then retail will start becoming fearful and selling their bags, and the whales are buying it back up again, and they surge the price up. Those people that bought here are going to do the same thing over here, and you get this vicious cycle. So we go like this, it might go like this, and then it's going to dip. It'll dip again. So those who bought here will sell down here, and then probably buy back up here because they think it's mooning again. It's made a new high, and they see it flip. They're like, "Fuck, we flipped. Let's sell. Let's sell." And those whales that keep buying the dips, they'll keep buying it back off the retail that keep buying the highs and selling the lows. And it might sound crazy or stupid, but that's actually what happens. That's how they keep accumulating. The whales keep accumulating until we finally reach the end of the bull market. Hopefully, it's I'm going to zoom right out here. Hopefully, it's somewhere up here around $60, and then the opposite starts happening, and it starts flipping, and you start getting the whales selling. You'll see lots of influencers that are saying, "Oh, buy the dip," and the whales get to offload their entire bags into retail, and people get stuck bag holding because near might get to $60, but then come the bear market, it might get back down to about $3 or $4. And that's just how the markets work in crypto. Alts lose 95 plus percent of their value from their all-time highs. And unfortunately, you will get some people that are stuck buying near or Solana or what, doesn't matter what it is, at really, really big levels, really high figures, only for it to lose 90% plus of its value. But we've got a lot of time before we need to worry about that. Ultimately, for near, yeah, I'm short-term bearish. I think we're going to get down to this $5 level, but my big picture, I've got very high hopes. I think we are going to start breaking up above these key levels, and there is lots of lines here, but they are all key levels: $9.40, $11.80, $13 is going to be the big one, where I think that we won't get through that on its first attempt. But I definitely think that it's going to challenge those levels at some point. So I hope that answers your question, Simon. Was there anything else that you guys wanted me to have a quick browse over?
Let's talk about Solana, because I mean it's had two run-ups to kind of like $200. And it kind of crossed the line twice, and it's kind of been a hard rejection on the second time as well. My thinking is this is going to be a third time run-up. I can see the all-time high, being smashed in this in this cycle. That's my own personal opinion. I watch it quite closely. I'm quite a large holder of Solana. It was really interesting, kind of last night, to see it get to the 200 and then just fall away. The sell signals came in quite hard, and last time it just smashed it. It went through the kind of the 208, and again kind of reached this cycle's all-time high and then fell away quite nastily. So he's got this range of about $24 at the moment, which is just kind of cycling through. And I'm wondering, with kind of BTC's dominance, Solana is kind of a big cash cow like BNB. You know, when kind of the dominance starts to kind of really kick in with BTC, we're selling. You know, we are seeing these sell-offs. And for Solana at the moment, I'm just kind of holding my breath over the next kind of like month and a half to see where it's going to land, because I've got this kind of like nagging feeling if it gets past the 220, it's just going to fly. But the thing is, it's can it stay above the 200 at the moment, if that makes sense? Because every time it kind of gets to this range, we're seeing kind of this, you know, volatility where the sell-offs are kind of happening. So, what are your thoughts on this, and where do you see kind of, especially with the halving coming up, what kind of effect do you think A it will have on Solana, and do you see more stabilization, or do you see more kind of volatility for Solana as we go forward over the next 2 weeks, month? What are your thoughts on this? Sorry, that was quite a long and elongated question.
No, that's all right. So at the moment for Solana, we've got an unconfirmed high or low sitting here at around $163, give or take. But the action that we saw with the 786 level is quite typical. And this is on a larger time frame. You normally would see this sort of price action on smaller time frames like an hourly or a 4 hour chart. But we are using a fib that spans nearly over 12 months. So it does make it a bit more. You do have to give it time to play out. And so something that we can typically see is something like this, which is where you get a deviation above the level, but it's rejected and it doesn't close above. Comes down, gets a bit of consolidation, and then comes up, fails to break above the prior high, and rejects hard off the level. So it still has time to play out here. But this is sort of where I'm seeing things going. And it is relative to Bitcoin and what Bitcoin does. If we get Bitcoin breaking up above 72.5K and on its way to making new all-time highs, it's going to drag the alts with it, which would more than likely negate this playing out. However, if we do start to see Bitcoin coming back down to test that 60K region, 62K or below, falling into that range that I've been talking about, then I think that this becomes quite a likely situation where we're going to come down to the trend line that it's been following for quite some time, since November last year when things really took off from $50. It has gone below, but it's always popped back above. And we've spent a lot of time away from this trend line at the moment. So for me, I think you're crazy to be buying Solana at the moment. Yep, it can go to $500. It could go to $1,000. But is it really worth the risk for the entire bull market to potentially get a 2.5, maybe 5x on a token? There is a lot of other tokens that are out there that you could be buying up now that the risk reward is a lot more in your favor than getting into something like Solana. I think should have been, if you really wanted to bag up Solana, down here at the $50 level would have been a good area, even up to $80. But now that we're hovering around the 190, 200, I think it's I wouldn't be advising it if someone was asking me if I thought they should buy Solana. It is great technology. It's got great fundamentals. It's definitely not a rug pull. It's going to be a leading crypto for us, but we're not buying it to feel good about ourselves. I like to think that we're buying these tokens to make money as an investment, and I wouldn't think that this is a good investment at the moment. It's like buying Nvidia up at its all-time highs. At its current price, I don't even know what it's trading at the moment, but I'm guessing it's right up there. Not something I would be jumping in with both feet for, that's for sure.
I'm in agreement. I think the current price is kind of overflated. To be honest, I was really lucky. I DCA'd at about 36, 25 cents for all 800 of mine. I'm a massive fan of Solana. I love the technology as well, but as an investment at this point in the market, it's too risky. There are much better coins out there where you're going to get kind of a times five, a times 10. Like I said, even though it is a cash cow, and it has a massive following, um, the market at the moment is oversaturated, and the price is inflated. I'll be quite honest, and that is my brutal opinion. Should we touch upon kind of like maybe the stocks, or do you want to touch upon the Asian market?
Yeah, we can jump into the stocks. Jump into China. So China's had a bit of a bounce. They've been looking good. I will say, because it does look like that we may have a bottom down here, and this is fairly big. And the reason why I'll zoom out to a monthly chart, which I don't think too many people probably see many monthly charts. So it looks like we could be forming a bit of a double bottom here, and this goes from October 2022 until about 3 months ago, or the start of the year, more or less. So it's been in a fairly long, drawn out down spiral, downtrend, and I think we could be starting to flip this now to the upside. It has been the Chinese markets have been dragging their feet. There has been a lot going on over there with bankruptcies, deflation, declining population. There's been a lot of stuff in the news. It's been highly reported, I would say, at least to the rest of the world. But they are doing a lot of stimulus over there. They're making credit very easy to come by. They're trying to break down the tariffs that they have imposed on countries to free up the trading agreements. Australia and China, where China is Australia's biggest trade partner. So it's been all over the news over here what they're doing. They actually had their foreign minister over here at the moment, talking about knocking down some of the trade tariffs that they've got, which they're doing, just trying to make things cheaper and easier to do to start stimulating their economy again. And when it does get going, it can really get moving. The Chinese stock markets, it's almost in between crypto and like the American markets. How volatile it can get. Like you can get they can get like 5-6% swings in a day. I'm invested in the Asian markets because I think that the risk reward is there. They're nowhere near all time highs. I'll zoom back out again. Like the all time high for the HSI is up at around 33,500 points. It's it's a 50% discount at the moment on that. Whereas you jump into like SPX, and it's just printing all time highs, which is great because I've got some SPY stocks as well. But I think it's just on a march. Every time it does do something like this, it looks like it's going to have a pullback, but it doesn't. It then flips and makes a new all-time high, as we saw at the end of last week before it sold off into the weekend. Oh, actually sold off today, or as we're speaking. But it's almost like these little pullbacks it gets is enough before it keeps on going. These pullbacks it gets, it's enough, and then it keeps on going again. And this is just part of I suppose, the end of the the land cycle that we're in. We're in the winner's curse phase. And so whenever we get these pullbacks, it's those people that haven't got into the markets, they're buying up. The banks or the hedge funds that still have money on the sidelines, they're waiting for a pullback, they buy it up. And that's why the markets just keep on going up and grinding up, because everyone's starting to get into the market now. So I'm enjoying the ride. I'm interested to see what's going to be the catalyst. Like, this is just ridiculous, this run up. You can see little minor pullbacks along the way, but just keeps on grinding. It's going to be interesting to see what the catalyst is. Which banks are that fall on their sword in the next 18 months to 2 years, and what happens to the markets when that happens. What level are they at? Is SPY up at 6,000, 7,000 points? Yeah, I'm excited for it, that's for sure. Well, I think with that, it might draw us to a close for today. I'll just check the chat, see if there's any comments specifically. Okay, so we've got ARB and Ordi. So there is something. I'll have a quick look at ARB. I won't do Ordi today, but I'll do ARB. So something interesting with ARB is that I did see that there was quite a large token unlock. And I think I even was reading that Wintermute, who is a BC that's an investor of ARB, was selling off their holdings again. So it has had a decent run, almost a 3x, 75 cents down there, up to around $2.40. More or less straight up, with a few corrections along the way, and now we've got a lower high to come in. We know that that's a lower high because when we made this high, we formed a higher low, but then we got a lower high, and now we've got a lower low. So it is in the middle of having a pullback. I need to fix this up. $618. So this will be the first bounce zone. I would have thought this golden pocket. We've got the old tops over here, which aren't really tested. There is a little bit of a test in here, but nothing too serious. So to come down from this level and test the old tops will be good to see what happens around that $1.35 mark, give or take. Failing that, we could expect the price, if it pushes through there, we could expect the price to get some sort of reaction at about $1.20. Might change this to a weekly time frame, might be easier. Yeah, around that $1.20 mark, we've got some tops here and over here when it was trying to break out that were acting as resistance before it took off. So I think for ARB, it's on the downtrend, but it's not far from where it needs to get to. It's 10% drop, plus a little bit, maybe about a 15% drop to get to this golden pocket, and then below that, we've probably got around a 30% drop to get down to the $1.20 level, which is definitely something that can happen. Couple that with the large token unlock. I can't remember the exact figures of it, but it was fairly substantial. It sort of plays into what's going on. And it's also interesting because that token unlock, it was not something that was hidden or not known about. Everyone knows when token unlocks are coming. You can see them; they're quite published. But it's interesting to see the pump into the token unlock before the sell off, and that's something that I've talked about previously as well. When discussing token unlocks, you normally see a pump into them before the sell off, and the reason for that is a lot of people do have visuals of the token unlock, and it's similar to a news event. They think, right, price is going to go down, let's get into a short position, but they get in too early, and so they become exit liquidity for the people receiving the token unlocks because they'll drive up the price, liquidate the shorts, sell, and when the shorts get liquidated, it turns it into a long essentially, which pushes up the price even further, and that's when those large entities are selling their bags at the top before they then bring the price down because they've sold the top, they're selling the top, they've filled their shorts, and then they can drive the market down. And those poor people that were back here thinking a large token unlock that got liquidated, they then see the price decline, and you might hear something like, "I told you it was going to happen," but mate, you're not in a position because you got in too early. But this will only be short term. It'll flip around and take back off again. I think the recent ETH upgrade was pretty good for these layer twos. It's reduced their gas fees significantly, which will make them a lot more easier to use and economical to use. So this will just be a temporary pullback for now. It's a bit where it's sort of the state for crypto at the moment. Everything looks like it's sort of in a pullback phase. We've had Bitcoin's taken off a little bit, leading into this towards the close of the American market.
Yeah, I was just watching it, mate. It's just topped 69,500. Looks like the West Coast has finally woken up through day trading and heading into what would be the first day of, I imagine, the Pan-Asian market today.
Yeah, so we might even see it get up to just above 70k, to be honest. On the low time frames, that's a lower low. We've got a lower high over here. So it's just going through the ebbs and flow of it. But the general price movement is to the downside on the low time frames. So yeah, interesting to see. But
yeah, I'd be interesting to see if it holds tomorrow with coming into the Eurozone, especially with kind of like Deutsche Bank and then LSE kicking open at 8. Obviously, we've been on a 4-day holiday over in this part of the world. So all eyes will be on LSE tomorrow, I think at 8 o'clock, especially around about 7:45 with pre-trading orders allowed to go in. So yeah, could be 12 hours.
definitely, mate, definitely. And being the start of the month, it normally creates wicks to the upside and the downside. Sorry, Israel. I'll have a look at Ton on the next catch up. I am looking to do one next week, but we'll put some news out about that in the announcements channel, probably towards the end of this week. So yeah, I will take a note and we'll look at Ordi and Ton at the next catch up. But yeah, for now, enjoy the rest of your evening, depending on where you are in the world. For me, my day's just starting. But take care of yourself, guys, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, thanks guys for all turning up. It's been a pleasure as always. Take care, guys.
Thanks. Bye.